Investigators believe the gunman was the son of a teacher at the school. The 20 children killed are ages 5 to 10. Police also found another adult dead at a different scene. NBC's Chris Pallone begins our team coverage.
It's a tragedy of unimaginable horror. More than a dozen elementary school children brutally murdered by a gunman who walked into a school and opened fire.
There were several fatalities at the scene, both students and staff.
Frantic parents rushed back to the school, desperate for any information about their children.
We just ran like every other parent, and we found out we couldn't get to the school.
I drove from work. I work in Bridgeport, and I drove back up here, and it was, like I said, it was the longest drive of my life. It was really hard, not knowing.
Teachers barricaded the students in classrooms before they could be evacuated.
We heard like shots and everybody went on the ground, and Miss Martin just closed the door and we went to the corner.
Police and SWAT teams surrounded the school and stormed outlying buildings.
Immediately upon arrival, entered the school and began a complete active shooter search of the building. That included checking every door, every crack, every crevice, every portion of that school.
The shooter died inside the school. It's believed the gunman drove there, where he killed his mother, a teacher, and her students. The magnitude of the loss of life involving so many children has shaken this community and the nation.
I know there's not a parent in America who doesn't feel the same overwhelming grief that I do. The majority of those who died today were children. Beautiful little kids between the ages of 5 and 10 years old.
In Washington, D.C., flags are flying at half staff as the country mourns with this small Connecticut town that has lost so much. Chris Pallone, NBC News, Newtown, Connecticut.
Wisconsin State Superintendent of Schools Tony Evers said in a statement today, quote, "My heart and prayers go out to victims of this tragic shooting and their families. These will be difficult times for parents and school children everywhere, including in Wisconsin. We must support and care for our children as they hear about this tragedy," end quote. Parents around Green Bay are stunned by the news of this deadly shooting.
It's overwhelming. It makes you want to cry.
The Green Bay School District sent out emails to all administrators today, reminding them of their safety policies to prevent any violent acts in their schools. NBC26's Cassandra Duval continues our live team coverage.
Stacey, Green Bay Public Schools say they haven't really had a safety problem since a 2005 attack threat, but each year they add their policies to make sure nothing like this happens to their students.
As Richard Franklin visits his granddaughter at her Green Bay school today, he struggles with how to explain the senseless tragedy in Connecticut.
Somebody sent their child to go to school to learn, to become better citizens, and somebody took their lives.
He says he usually feels safe sending his grandkids to school.
You know, you always have police presence.
And that's the reassuring feeling Green Bay Public Schools want families to have.
And we want to, again, renew our pledge to keep the children safe in Green Bay Public Schools.
The executive director of Pupil Services says the district practices 4 pillars of safety: deter any possible crimes, delay by locking doors, detect and detain the person if an incident arises.
It would be difficult for someone to just walk into the school. It's not saying that it would be impossible, and I'm sorry, I can't promise that.
This mom of 3 agrees.
I feel like if somebody's determined to get into the school with something, they're going to find a way to make that happen.
The school district also does drills a number of times a year.
They know immediately what door to go in, what hallway to go down.
Schools are always on level 1 lockdown, with main and classroom doors always locked.
My heart go out.
For Franklin, he says he'll hold his granddaughter a bit tighter tonight.
The school district says they work closely with the Green Bay police, doing drills and run-throughs to make sure everyone is on the same page if an incident occurs. Cassandra Duval, NBC 26.
Well, today's incident has certainly shaken parents across the nation, including here at home. Tonight's NBC 26 online poll question asks, do you believe our children in Northeast Wisconsin are safe in school? Your choices are yes, no, or I have concerns. Go to our website, NBC26.com. You'll find the poll on our homepage. In the Ashwaubenon School District, some parents picked up their children early today after hearing about the tragedy in Connecticut. NBC 26's Jonathan Gregg continues our live team coverage from Ashwaubenon.
Stacy, the Ashwaubenon School District first reacting emotionally, but then thinking about how the shooting in Connecticut affects the families here in the Ashwaubenon School District. Parents like Cherokee Lee Tong Pao hearing the news from his wife, then deciding to pick up his first grade son early from Valley View Elementary.
I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm sure, like in Ashwaubenon, nothing of this is going to happen, but I just wanted to pick up my son just to feel secure.
Carrie Dominichek's 10-year-old daughter homesick.
She knows. She actually saw it on the news before I did. So she's like, Mom, look at that. That's sad. Seeing all the kids running to their parents.
At the Ashwaubenon District Office, Superintendent Brian Haynes.
And when something like this happens in a school facility, it triggers our whole crisis plan and safety. You know, safety is our #1 priority.
Reminding parents now of their emergency messaging system used if tragedy strikes here at home.
The name of the system is Alert Now. We've had it since for probably about 4 or 5 years now. What it is, a rapid communication system.
Messages delivered to your phone and email.
It's critical that parents update us when they have changes in their contact information, whether that's a home number or they now have a cell number instead of a home landline. If their work changes and their work email thus changes.
And again, the Ashwaubenon District reminding parents if your contact information has changed, call your school and update them with your current cell number, your home number, and your work number, and any email address that you can be reached at so they can update their Alert Now system. Reporting live in Ashwaubenon, Jonathan Gregg, NBC26.
Thanks, Jonathan. So here's what we know tonight about the Connecticut school shooting. A total of 27 people are confirmed dead after a gunman opens fire early this morning inside an elementary school. 20 children between the ages of 5 and 10 are among the dead. Another 7 adults were also killed, including the gunman. President Obama urged Americans to pull together during this tragedy. NBC's special coverage of the massacre is coming up after this newscast. They'll bring you the latest from Newtown, Connecticut. We will stay with that coverage in place of our 6 p.m. newscast. Still ahead live at 5, continuing coverage of the tragedy in Connecticut. A nation in shock and mourning after 20 children are gunned down in their school. Stay with us. We're following breaking news on NBC26. A teacher's son wearing black clothing and carrying 2 guns went on a rampage in a Connecticut elementary school, killing 26. Among the dead, 20 children. The gunman, 20-year-old Adam Lanza, was reportedly found dead inside Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, which is northeast of New York City. Tonight, investigators are still trying to piece together how this tragedy happened and why.
You can never be prepared for this kind of incident. What has happened, what has transpired at that school building will leave a mark on this community and every family impacted.
Tonight, President Obama ordered flags to be flown at half-staff in memory of the victims. We've had 2 mass shootings here in Wisconsin this year. A gunman opened fire in the Sikh temple in Oak Creek in August. 6 people died, 4 others were injured. The shooter, Wade Michael Page, turned the gun on himself. The FBI says he was part of a white supremacist group. Then in October, a gunman killed 3 women and himself at the Azana Spa in Brookfield. 4 other women were wounded in that killing spree. One of the victims was the gunman's wife, Zina Houghton. Again, we are following breaking news as a gunman opens fire inside a Connecticut elementary school today. We'll have the latest information coming up after the break. We're following breaking news on NBC26 Live at 5. School children and their parents describing the horrific scene at a Connecticut elementary school today. Teachers locked doors and ordered the children to huddle in the corner or hide in closets. Shots rang through the building as a gunman killed 26 people, including 20 children. Tonight, witnesses describe what they saw.
We heard banging and the teacher locked the doors, and we all went behind, we all went over to a corner, and the teacher was supposed to keep us complicated. All the police officers had machine guns. One of the first grade teachers died.
In Washington, D.C., flags are flying at half-staff as the country mourns with this small Connecticut town that has lost so much. So how do we talk with our children about such a horrific tragedy? Prevea behavioral care therapist Jeff Stumbras joins me now. And Jeff, just listening to that little boy, it just breaks your heart. They shouldn't have to deal with a tragedy like this. How do we talk about it with our own children?
It is a reality that there are things that we have control of in our life and there are things that we don't have control, right? And this particular kind of tragedy, right, touches parents in a very personal place, right? It's every parent's nightmare. So their own emotional reaction is very powerful. And children who are in school, who do these lockdowns, who do these safety drills, right, who can look at what's on the TV, right, and identify and picture themselves in that situation, they have a very strong connection to this as well. So it's a good opportunity for families to have conversations, right, about how this is all playing out, right? And what adjustment and what reactions they each have, right? Particularly for the parents to talk to their children, right? And just ask open-ended questions, right? About what do you know about what's going on, right? What do you think about it? What reactions do you have about it? Are there any questions that you have about it that I can answer?
As a parent of 2 children myself, sitting down with your kids talking about such a tragedy, it's emotional for a parent. Tears come to your eyes and the fear that's involved. How do you as a parent talk with your children about that? Do you let your emotions show?
It's not a good thing to pretend to your children, right, that you don't have emotions about it, because you're trying to teach them and model them that there are a variety of different reactions that we all have to it, right? Coping isn't not having emotions. Coping is being able to sort through them, identify them, right? Show your children, right, that when we talk about it, right, we as well, right, can increase our ability to cope just by connecting with each other. Because the children, more than anything else, want to know that they're not alone, right? Mom and dad are saying, we're here to keep you safe, right? We'll do our best to protect you like all the other adults in your life, right? Give me a hug, right? We care about each other, right? And go from there.
All right, Jeff, thank you so much for your insight. We really appreciate it. Well, we continue to follow breaking news. 20 children are dead after an elementary school shooting in Connecticut. Hear from an emotional President Obama when we come back. We're following breaking news live at 5. Horror in Connecticut. A gunman murders 20 children inside an elementary school. 6 adults also lost their lives before the gunman killed himself. It all unfolded at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut. The gunman was the son of a kindergarten teacher who is among the dead. A highly emotional President Obama said today he feels overwhelming grief for the victims and their families. Speaking at the White House this afternoon, the president remembered the young victims as beautiful little kids who had their entire lives ahead of them.
I know there's not a parent in America who doesn't feel the same overwhelming grief that I do. The majority of those who died today were children. Beautiful little kids between the ages of 5 and 10 years old.
The president said he's received briefings from the director of the FBI as information on the shootings has developed. Well, the school massacre in Connecticut generating a huge response all over the internet and on social media sites. NBC26's Deandra Corinthios is live at our digital desk to break it down for us. Deandra?
Stacey, there's literally been an explosion on social media sites like Facebook and Twitter, and I just want to share with you some of the latest things coming down on Twitter right now. NBC News is reporting that the weapons in this case were legally purchased and they were registered to the gunman's mother. Also seeing a lot of tweets coming down right now calling on the White House to immediately examine gun control legislation. Now, there have been a lot of people tweeting about this, celebrities, regular people, even Governor Walker, who says his thoughts and prayers are with the victims and young children involved. Green Bay Packers players as well weighing in. Donald Driver says, "We send our child to school hoping they'll be safe, and then this is what happens. What is wrong with the world? Now, as you can imagine, our NBC26 Facebook friends are posting their emotional reaction to the tragedy. Michelle writes, "With tears in my eyes, I will hug my kids even tighter tonight. Never take anything for granted." And Jessica posted, "No parent should ever have to grieve the loss of their child, especially in such a horrific way." And Ellie replied, "The faces of the children when they came out of the school, they will never have to see this. They will have this in their mind for a very long time." Share your thoughts with us on our Facebook page. Stacy, back to you.
All right, thank you, Deandra, and we'll be right back. You're watching NBC26 Live at 5. Updating our breaking news tonight, a gunman has killed 20 young children at an elementary school in Newtown, Connecticut. The shooter also killed 6 adults before turning the gun on himself. An emotional President Obama said, quote, "Our hearts are broken today." NBC's special coverage of the massacre is coming up next. Brian Williams and Lester Holt will bring you the latest from Newtown, Connecticut. We will stay with the coverage in place of our 6 p.m. newscast. We want to thank you for joining us live at 5. We'll see you again at 10. Have a good night.